Mendel is now talking about is basically the concept of the neshama and the guf, its relationship between the neshama and the guf. And what he's really going to say, basically, is, well, the first idea is, which is very important, is that the neshama is a spiritual being. You all know that. And as such, it has different physics, different laws, And in many ways, Ruchnius is antithetical to Gashmius. It's an opposite. Not only is it different, in many ways it's opposite. Because Ruchnius, in many ways, shuns Gashmius. A spiritual entity shuns means it really pushes it away. It pushes away a physical entity because in many ways it's so different. But besides that, Ruchnius is closer. A spiritual entity is much closer to God than a physical, for obvious reasons. So therefore, it's sort of like the less a physical entity has to do with the less a spiritual entity has to do with a physical entity, the greater is it. Because a physical entity to a spiritual entity is a barrier. It is a barrier from absorbing the Shekhinah or the divine hashpah. That's what a physical object represents. In fact, the universe is created physical because the universe is a very appropriate place to create an environment where a person can be tested. What does a physical universe do for us, basically? What it does several things. The first thing, it creates a barrier of the manifestation of a spiritual. We don't see a spiritual universe at all. It is a physical universe that conceals. It's the veil over the spiritual universe. And as a result of that, we can therefore be tested. Obviously, if the spiritual universe in some way was able to reveal itself in the physical, then what's the test? We know immediately what the truth is. So the physical universe serves as a very important barrier that conceals the entire concept of a spiritual universe. Therefore, a physical universe in many ways is very important. The second thing a physical universe does is it creates an illusion. What's the illusion it creates? The concept of an other. In the universe of God, there is no other, really. And in a spiritual universe, one is not under the delusion that there is something else. Even though you have many beings, obviously. You have malachim, you have many kinds of beings. But what's amazing is even though there's such a multiplicity of beings, there is no illusion of other in that universe. Whereas in a physical universe, it's an illusion. We see other people. I see you, you see me. So as far as we're concerned, there are many things. It's what's called, there's a multiplicity of beings. So a physical universe allows the illusion of the multiplicity of beings, which is the opposite, obviously, of what the Russian wants us to know. So that's another thing that fools us, the illusion of many things, a multiplicity of beings. And like I said, therefore the concept of Ein Bavado is concealed. So that's the second problem with a physical universe, And I'm not even talking about the entrance of the Satan into the physical universe. I'm just talking about the physical, what's called Olam HaGashmi. The physical universe in and of itself is an inferior place to hang out, as they say.
So Satan deepens multiplicity?
Yes, much worse. That's the problem. The Satan makes it much worse. So like I said, so the first thing is that the physical universe is a barrier to a spiritual entity. But the second thing is that, like I said, it creates the illusion of other, zulosoi. And that's the exact opposite of the hasaga that we need to have, which is the tachlis of the bria, is the major idea, obviously, of creation, is to realize that there is nothing else besides the Rebbeinu Shalom, you see. But not only that, not only is the illusion that there's a multiplicity of beings, there's worse. There's an illusion of the multiplicity of forces.
It's not the same?
No. There are three things that we will come to realize in the future. The first thing is called Yichud Hanhagosoi. What is Yichud Hanhagosoi? That all things move only because of God. In other words, we think that we direct our actions and our beings, where we want to go. Not at all. The Rebbeinu Shalom is the one who directs everything, literally everything. And we have the illusion, therefore, that in some way we are in control of our, you want to call it destiny, our fate. That's the illusion. But so the concept is Yichud Hanogosoi, is that the Rebbeinu Shalom is in charge of everything. And like it or not, we are going to go in the exact direction that the Rebbeinu Shalom wants us to go for our toiv, for our goodness. You see that in many places. I don't know if I ever said it, but maybe I did, I don't remember.
So what's the Yiras Shamayim that we have?
Wait. You know where you see that, interesting enough? It says, I don't know if I ever said this, maybe. It says that when Yaakov met Yosef, finally, after 22 years, right? And they obviously hugged each other. You can imagine what kind of moment that was, right? It says that Yosef was crying. It's a famous medrash. And Yaakov was saying Kriya Shema. It's a rather interesting idea. Now, so Yosef was crying, we can understand. Because he had just seen his father, that he hadn't seen for 22 years, and of course Yosef's, the love that Yosef bore his father, and the same thing his father of Yosef was, of course, tremendous. So the fact that Yosef was crying, I can understand that. But why would Yaakov be saying Kriya Shema? That's a rather strange idea. To begin, he's davening and he's saying Kriya Shema? Why would he do that? So the idea for that, so the Meforshim learn, which is really a tremendous concept, is that Yaakov was so great that even in the moment of his greatest emotional aliyah, uplift, which it certainly was, he wanted to channel it towards serving God. You see. So could you imagine in the height of this enormous emotional feeling about seeing Yosef HaTzadik, right? All of a sudden, he would be saying Shema Yisrael. He would be saying Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, with such an unbelievable feeling of thankfulness, appreciation, simcha, and he will invest Shema Yisrael, right, with this incredible input of unbelievable emotions. Nice. Yes? That's what Meforshim say. Certainly the Bali Musa say that. That's a very important idea, that tzaddikim, what they do is even the moments that they're sort of like they're entitled to, having tremendous simcha, they will direct the simcha itself not for their own purposes, but for the purpose of the Rebbeinu Shalom. So he just inputted in what? In Shema Yisrael. So you can imagine what kind of Shema Yisrael that was. That's what the Bali Musa say.
Would you say that's spiritual or emotional?
It's emotional.
Emotional.
Yeah. It's an incredible simcha. I just seen a child of 22 years, he thought was dead. There's a simcha when Serach Bas Osher, she's the one who told Yaakov that Yosef was still alive. That itself was an unbelievable simcha. He didn't see him. But just by hearing him, and then she of course proved it to him by telling Yaakov the last piece of Torah that they shared, which is the Agolas, Eglah Ruf and so on, right? So you can imagine the simcha that he had, right? And he said, you should live forever. And guess what? She's one of the few people that live forever, in the sense that she never died. She, like Eliyahu Novi, she went up, like Chanoich, Eliyahu Novi, Serach Masosha, and so on. She went up to Shemayim, whatever that means, with her body. You know? And that's everlasting life. She didn't have to go through the phenomenon called Misa, death. And that was where Yaakov didn't even see Yosef, right? Here all of a sudden he's in Egypt and he sees his kid. I mean, Yosef was already an older person, he's 30 years old. Well, he wasn't 30, what I'm talking about. He was 37 and then he was 39 years old. So you can imagine the simcha seeing Yosef, and he invested that, he placed that rather than in himself, but in the Rebbeinu Shem himself. This is what the Baalei Mussar say. Okay. However, you really can see a different shot or kol hashkafa. What did Yaakov do? When he saw Yosef living, and that was proof that he was living, he saw him, right? He had a tremendous hasaga. Something hit him, as they say, with the power of a locomotive. What was that? He said to himself, it's incredible. Here, he thought, one, that Yosef was dead, finished. And he thought Yehuda was gone, because Yehuda, the whole ice of Yehuda and Tamar, that the whole incident of Yehuda is over. You know what I'm saying? And not only that...
Mashiach.
Well...
I'm saying he's out of the picture.
Who?
I mean, there's no hope for Mashiach.
Well, yeah. I mean, Yosef is dead, that's the end of the 12 tribes. There's no 12th tribe, and so on, right? And Yehuda also had a tremendous ma'apolo.
Reuven.
With and so on, exactly. And then Reuven. So, but especially Yehuda and Yosef, who are the Mashiachim, who are the sources of the Neshama of the Mashiachim. So could you imagine, all of a sudden he realized something that was shocking. He realized that all of this is nothing more than the concealed direction of God himself. All of this. That the Hashem did it to Yosef. Why did he do it to Yosef? Because if you remember the cliché on Esav and Yaakov and so on, he concealed Yosef, right? So that Yosef would be able to go to Egypt and diminish the Sultan's power. Because I spoke about that. Really, Yaakov should have gone to Egypt, which is what the Medrash says, which is astounding Medrash. Instead, Yosef went in his stead to subdue the Sultan in that sense, and therefore to begin the Messianic process. Right? But Yaakov didn't know. Instead, 22 years passed where he didn't know. Why? Because Yaakov also needed a kapara for keep it over aim. And what the Moshe did is he doubled up. He made sure that Yosef would go to Egypt and do what he had to do, right? And so on. At the same time, Yaakov would have a kapara. But in order to do that, Yaakov couldn't know where Yosef was. So he's looking at Yosef and he realizes this is absolutely incredible, that he thought everything was finished. It's over with, That's the end of it. And all of a sudden he sees that not only is Yosef alive, but Yosef did the job. Why? Because the mere fact that he's the Grand Vizier of Egypt means that he succeeded in overthrowing the Sultan's Bechor, and he now took over the position, Sheni L'Melech. And therefore that's an indication of how great, what the job he did. So not only is Yosef alive, Yosef did the job, which is so critical to bring Mashiach, and Yosef is the Grand Vizier. So he realized that what he thought everything was kaput, as they say, everything was going downhill, was over with. Not only did it not go downhill, not only did nothing happen, everything was achieved unbeknownst to Yaakov.
How did that fix the fact that the rest of the Shvatim...
Wait, so therefore Yaakov realized that the Rosh is in absolute control of everything that happens. What is that called? Yichud Hanhagosai. That's Shema Yisrael, Hashem Echad. What's the Echad? That God is one. That God is the only director of everything. That's why he said Shema Yisrael. It's Hashkafa. In other words, the Shema Yisrael, with all that incredible passion and emotion, was said in direct result to the Hasaga of who the Rebbe Hashem is and to what extent he controls the Bria. So real hashkafa, besides the Musa and so on. So that's called Yichud Hanagosoy. And we don't realize that. We think that we're in charge of our fate, that everything we do is really us. But we don't realize it's all the Rebbe Hashem, totally. Now you may ask me, wait a minute, what about Bechira? Don't we have Bechira, right? So why do I say that we are in charge? What's kind of the answer for that?
Could it possibly be that the outcome of the process will always be what Hashem wants it to be, but your role in it could change depending on what you choose to do? Meaning, if you choose to do the right thing, then it'll be orchestrated in a way that you'll get credit for what you need to get credit for. But if you choose to go against the will of Hashem, it'll get done anyway.
Yeah, but what does that have to do? Well, you still have Bechira.
Yeah, Bechira.
I think
It doesn't have to do with the result. It has to do with your either culpability or your being credited.
No, we're talking about you doing the act. I'm saying that the Hashem controls everything. Forget about if you get reward or not. And we understand that everybody has Bechira. So there seems to be a contradiction here.
It's no contradiction. There's no contradiction.
I hope not.
You have a program. Hashem's running has a special program he's running.
Yeah.
Like a computer program.
Yes.
But we don't know what the program is. If we knew what the program is, we wouldn't have the Bechira. But since we don't know what it is, now we have the Bechira.
But still, that's a contradiction to
It's
the
not a
Hashem.
contradiction at all.
Well, if I can do anything I want, what program are we talking about?
But I don't know what the program is.
So what?
The shot is, if I knew there was a program running me, and what I'm going to do, exactly what I'm going to do, then I wouldn't be here. But since I have simple compared to, I don't know.
Do you control your actions or not?
Absolutely not.
You don't.
Do not.
Since both you have
Thoughts.
free will.
Yes, but not actions.
Thoughts?
Thoughts, yes.
Yeah, you don't think the Hashem places thoughts in your mind?
Yeah, he does, but it's brought down. It's brought to Chavas Lavav that says that we have control of our thoughts, not of our actions. He talks about that.
Let me make it, okay. Not exactly, but you're getting close. It's not exact. We don't realize something, and the one who says that in a certain ways is Fasemis. We don't realize something. There is nothing in the universe that we do except one thing. When we have Bechira, it is limited to only one single thing.
Good and bad.
What?
Good and bad.
No.
Hasoga. Just Hasoga. Understand.
No.
Perception.
Tifir?
Who?
Tifir?
No.
What do I do, right or wrong?
No.
The Gemara says that.
I'm not arguing with Gemara, but
I mean, going in, it says we have a choice between righteous or oppression.
Again. The Russian does everything, except one thing, and only in that one area does Bechira operate. What is that? I will tell you. What? No, yeah, that's...
To general.
But yeah...
Kavana to make yourself holy, expenses to make yourself holy.
No, we give up.
You give up. Okay. Let's analyze the transmission, the process, the chain. Okay. A person all of a sudden has an idea. Whatever that idea. It could be the result of something he sees, right? All of a sudden it pops up in his mind, right? And that idea is something which is worthy of pursuit. Yes? Want to do it. Yes? Okay? All of a sudden, what does he have to do? Remember, he has an idea, which means a direction. And it's worthy of pursuit. What must this person do?
Make a decision.
Exactly. The only thing... Is it on? The only thing, listen carefully, the only thing that you can do where the Rebbe Hashem does nothing to influence is the decision itself. Period. Now, let's assume a person makes a decision. Yes? And then what happens? Now, what does he do? He activates the will. Now, nobody knows where in the world the will is. Right? Nobody knows where that is in the mind, in the brain. But for some reason, again, there's the idea. He deems it worthy of pursuit, and then I want to do it. And that decision is free. Right after that, what happens next? The decision activates the will. The will fires up the brain, that fires the neurons, that moves the muscles, and you go into the act. The only place that you have input in that whole process is the decision. Whether that decision will come to fruition is only up to God. That's how limited we are. We think, well, I can do whatever I want. No. The only thing you can do, which means the only thing you're not compelled to do at all, is the decision itself. After that, it's out of your hands. The person will decide what he wants. Does he allow you to go through with your actions once a decision is made? He'll stop you. One second. That's the concept. We don't realize how limited we are in terms of bechira. That's it. Therefore, clearly, the person does everything. Everything. You know, if I lift my hand, right? I obviously made a decision to do that. Yes? Who did that? Did I do that? No. The emotion does it, except there's, for every nanosecond to nanosecond, my decision is to lift. So my input to this whole process is the decision to lift. But after that, the will and fire up, that's all the emotional. Even though it doesn't look like that, you see. So therefore, we think, so that's Yichud Hanagosoi, that's what Yichud Hanagosoi is. That the only thing we could do is the decision itself. After that, it's up to him. Therefore, he is the absolute dictator, director of everything we do. That's how powerless we really are. I think if people realize how powerless we are, I think everybody would have a heart attack. Because we all want to think that we're somebody, and that we can do anything we want, and that it is our brilliance that does anything. But we are so incredibly limited by our input, but what we really do, it's amazing. So therefore, the physical universe conceals Yichud Hanagosoi. And I just answered why that's not a contradiction to free will or bechira. The second Yichud is Shlitosoi. We think that we are a power, that we influence, acts. We can exhibit a force. We're powerful. Some more, some less, right? But the truth is, Ein koyach acher, like the Ramchal says. There is no other force. It's astounding. There is no other force in the universe other than God.
The problem with that is that Hashem gave the power of bracha to Avraham Avinu.
Yeah.
Once he gave him the power of bracha, that means that he had the power to control things, change things around.
That
we
meant,
also have, because we're empowered.
No. What that meant is that the Hashem will accede to Avram's desire. That's all it means.
It means he's got some sort of power.
God gives it. No. What that means is that, you whatever you want, I will do for you. That's all it meant. But I will do it for you, not you. You tell me what you want, and I will do it. Carry it out.
But that means he's got some sort of power. Because Hashem is access.
No, he had no power. The Hashem does everything.
I know, but
that's not called.
You don't call that power?
No, not really. It's not power over God. God voluntarily submits.
God, but he does have power.
But not in the classic sense of power.
To make change.
I'm talking about force, physical force.
Okay.
We can do nothing. In any case, so therefore, that's Yichud Hanagosei. Yichud Shlitosoi is the ultimate power, which is interesting. That is why if a person gets sick, right, and all of a sudden he finds out he has a tumor.
God forbid.
God forbid. Who is that tumor? Is that a real thing? Of course it is. To us it looks real. It's a bunch of cells that went wild, right? And so on. But the tumor really is God. There is no tumor, except it's the version guised or masquerading as a tumor. Because there is nothing else. But even if there was, there is nothing else that has any power.
It's a shliach?
It's more than a shliach. It's him. much more than a shliach. Except God conceals himself in the form of something that looks like a tumor, or a disease, or a bacteria, or a virus, or anything. You see, and therefore,
So all the forces in the earth.
are all him.
What about Satan?
Who?
What about Satan?
It's all him. There is no Satan. Satan has no power. The Satan doesn't exist really. And that's the third concept of Yichud Mitzvah. Nothing exists except God, which I talked about a long time ago. Right? What is Einod Mavado? Einod Mavado Mamish. Nothing exists but God, so therefore how could anything have any power? You see. I once mentioned that Rabbi Chaim Volozhin says that's a tremendous segula. That if a person recognizes that there is nothing out there, it's all the Rebbeinu Shalom, that the only thing anybody can do is the concept or the idea, the decision. After that, it's all Rebbeinu Shalom. He says that's a tremendous segula to be protected. He calls it, the Briskerov. Yeah, and the Briskerov used that when he was confronted by a Nazi. He was trying to run away, and the Nazi stopped him, and all of a sudden he stopped. He looked at the guy, and he said, "Einei Bilvato, there is no Nazi really. It's an illusion. It looks like a Nazi, but it's really that the power of this being is all God." And all of a sudden, the guy just looked away, and the Briskerov left. It was a mess. But he used the koyach of his great great grandfather, whatever, and so on. So that's Yichud Shlitosai, and then there's Yichud Mitzvusai. There are three Yichudim, really, that God exhibits. Okay? He directs everything, He is the force of everything, and He is the only thing. That's Shema Yisrael.
These are different levels.
What?
These are different levels.
Yeah. And when Yaakov Avinu saw Yosef, it hit him. Yichud Hanagosa. He realized it's, like this. You could say, well, maybe I have input into where I'm going and what's happening, and so on and so forth. No, you don't have any input. It looks like you do. And what enables this to occur? A physical universe. A physical universe can conceal everything. It conceals his yichud, his mitzius, clearly, because we see a lot of beings, right? You're all sitting across the table and listening to the shir, maybe. In any case, right?
The whole universe.
So, the concept, the physical universe allows many entities to exist as if they really exist. So that's the first illusion. The second illusion is that, everybody's a force. Right? You do what you want, you do what you want. So that's an illusion that we are really all forces. The third illusion in the physical universe is you can do whatever you want, and whatever happens is a result of your behavior.
Sorry, in the first two points that you made are really true in the spiritual universe as well. There's the spiritual universe is also shtalshalos from the Kohos Sayonos all the way down.
Yeah.
Which I think he talks. So that's also sort of. It seems like, even though they're closer and they have realization of Yichud Mitziyaso, but there's still a Hishtalshalos.
Yes, there are levels even according to them.
And also there are Kohos, so there are
but
other
at
forces.
least there are levels of Gilui. We are completely behester. We need to believe this. We never see it or experience it. In the Ruchnistic universe, right, they experience it, but the experience itself is at different levels. But at least they're in the ballpark, as they say. We are so far, we're not even there, you see. So by us it's Emunah, by them it's Re'iyah, and so on.
You said the physical universe conceals. I'm thinking, is it possible that, depending on the answer, that it reveals? For example, Yaakov was able to recognize Yosef. If there wasn't any physicality, how would they recognize proximity, being in front of each other? What entity would how would he recognize this?
No. You see no. Yeah. We exist, as far as we're concerned, in a real universe. As far as we're concerned, there are real forces. There are many beings, and we direct our own behavior. That's the illusion of the physical universe. So when he's looking at Yosef, he sees Yosef, I'm saying the few emes, according to the real truth, which we do not perceive the truth. It's like we walk around in a fog, So this is what we see. But you know, it's like you look at it's a universe of shadows. One shadow looks at another shadow and it says, "Wow, you know, it's a lot of shadows out there." You know, but in the end, they're all shadows. You know what I'm saying? There is nothing really out there. It's all, you know, like I say, shadows and so on. Therefore, the physical universes allow the complete concealment of these ideas. That's the problem in the physical universe. And therefore, the neshama clearly tries to avoid that, the physical universe, because it's a real barrier, you see. There's one more illusion that we have. That's probably the greatest illusion of all. And we have it because, again, there's no input. What is that illusion? Funny kind of illusion, but it's the worst of them all.
That we're God?
Well, that's certainly an illusion, yes, but it's yeah, but that where God is a different manifestation. You know, it's
Well, there's that we're in control of everything.
no. Is that we are suffering under an illusion which is the greatest of all illusions. Besides the three that I mentioned, you know, and so on. What that illusion is?
We live forever.
No. Just go to a cemetery and wake up. No. You know what the illusion is? The illusion of self. We all feel self, right? You know what I'm saying? I have a sense of self. So how can you tell me I don't exist? You know? I have a sense of self. Really? The self does not exist. Really? Under the plane of the Derech Hashem, we don't exist. Yet the Derech Hashem has fed us a sense of self. You see? And therefore, that sense of self means that I am independent or differentiated from the Derech Hashem. If I have a sense of self, I don't feel I'm God, you know. A lot of people do, but even they know that they're not God when they want to look at the truth. But it's the sense of self that we feel that we exist different than God. Forget about independent, but look, I'm me and he's he. Fine, so I'm dependent on him, great. But there's still me that's different than him. That illusion of self is what, in many ways, it is the greatest illusion of all.
If that illusion is not going to be lifted.
Not really, although it can be tremendously reduced.
That's what I meant by that's what I meant by that we're God, by the way. That
I know, it was...
you understood that? Or?
I understood that, but in a different way. You know, exactly, you know. But the illusion of self is the greatest of the illusions. So we have 4 illusions that we're dealing with here. The illusion of self, the illusion of we direct our own fate, the illusion that we are an independent force, and the illusion that we exist independent of God. You know? We don't see that He's the only thing, so, you know? So it is those illusions that the physical universe allows us to have. And ultimately speaking, we want to break away from those illusions. Ultimately. And in Olam Haba is a place that we don't... Olam Haba, I want to tell you something. The Ruchnis, the distance between us... I'll tell you something interesting. The distance between us and the spiritual universe is incredibly vast. Those type of beings, Malachim, Chayas, and all all the denizens of the upper world, you know, we are billions of miles, so to speak, away from who they are.
They still have self.
What?
They still have self.
Yes. Yeah, but it's a different. But I want to tell you something. The difference between them and Olam Haba is even vaster. It's not like they're next to Olam Haba. You know, like they'll know what Olam Haba is. Olam Haba is a place that even they cannot be masik. You see. So really there are 3 aspects of the Bria. There's Olam Hazeh, physical universe. And even Olam Hazeh has different levels of Ruchni. There's called the 7 heavens and so on. But anyway, so you have Olam Hazeh, then you have all the other upper worlds of Ruchnius. But They have no hasaga of Olam Haba. Olam Haba is something that the distance between us and them, the distance between them and Olam Haba is even greater. Because Olam Haba, we have no concept of what the experience is. But the experience in Olam Haba is where the self feels God as self in him and still has self. They, of course, their malachim have self, but they live in a world that is so close to the truth. They know the truth. We are completely blinded. They see the MS, but to what extent do they feel the MS? Olam Haba is a feeling of something that cannot be mastered. Is where you come in contact with the God Himself, which is being in existence, the greatest possible way, and still we live to tell about it, as they say, to live to talk about it. So therefore, the physical universe is the worst place to be. In terms of accessing the MS, the physical universe is a disaster, right? And I'll give you one more. I don't know. Did I tell you what Bezeh Sapecha Toichel Lechem is? In the sweat of your brow you will eat bread. Yes? No? Who? No.
Referring to Torah.
Who?
It's referring to Torah.
No.
Torah is called bread.
Well,
It's going to be difficult for him to learn Torah.
That's a Russia. The meaning of it, what? The Hashem comes over to Adam and says, in the sweat of your brow you're going to eat. Right? Bread. What's he telling him? Is this an oynish? Is this a punishment to Adam Harishon because he sinned by eating from the tree? What do you think?
Tikkun.
Even a punishment is a tikkun, so that doesn't answer the question.
No. Tikkun doesn't have to be a punishment.
Sounds like a punishment.
But again, I asked the question this: is this a punishment or not? And if it is, of course it would be a tikkun. What?
Sounds like a punishment.
Sure sounds to me like a punishment. Yes?
Yeah.
But I want to tell you something. Not really. What, you said yes?
Yes.
Okay. No, not at all. The Ramchal says an incredible concept. Until now, Ramchal says because Adam sinned, it's not that he was punishment, although in the end it wound up to be a punishment, But what was the nature of that punishment? This was the problem, the nature. Until the Chet, Adam Harishon could not believe that he created everything. Adam was created on the sixth day, so he realized, hey, I didn't make this stuff. I mean, he comes into a world that the Hashem created, and he's created on the sixth day, yes? And he realized that I didn't make this, so he couldn't fool himself and say, well, I made this. He could not have an illusion, you see, that he actually is the creator of these worlds. So the Hashem said, you feel that you exist independent, because that's what it is. The Hashem, you want to be God. You feel that you're a real self, and so on, and that you're a real force, and so on. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make it harder for you to break through the illusion of what the truth is. So until now, I gave you a little area where you can make a mistake. That you can actually think that there's some other force in the universe, the tree, However, you believed it. So you know what I'm going to do now? Since you believed that there's another force besides me, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make you a force. And you need to break through the illusion that you're not a force at all. Mida keneged mida. In other words, until now, Adam didn't have to do anything. Everything was mukhan, was prepared for him. Everything. He didn't have to do anything. So if that's the case, he couldn't fool himself that he made the garden. He knew that he didn't. He knew he didn't do anything. What the Hashem said is, from now on, you need to work for a living. And therefore, the ground will only respond to your input, your actions, or your force. And then it will give its fruit, its produce. But if that's the case, you now suffer from an illusion. Because you think that you're the one who got the ground to give you the produce. You see? So all of a sudden, you have what's called the illusion of parnasa. You now think that you're the one who gets things done because you did it. In other words, the ground will only give its produce to you when you farm, giving you the illusion that if I farm, I get it. And if I don't farm, I don't get it. So obviously means that I'm the one who farms. It's my input that allows the produce to grow. Yeah, of course the ground does it, but it's because I work the ground and all that, right? Therefore, a person believes I am an independent force from God. But the problem is that's an illusion. But it's hard to break through because you're actually going through the motions of acting as a real force. Much harder. You see? So what did Moshe do? Was this an einish? Sort of. Because it put Adam Rishon in a much worse position. You know, where now the test to see the emes is much more difficult. Because he does, it looks like, he does actually make a parnasa. You see? And once you make a parnasa, and the thing is like this, if you go to work, you make a parnasa. You don't go to work, you don't make a parnasa. So what's the conclusion here? If I go to work, I make the parnasa. It comes because of my input, my work. You see? But that's not true, that's false. So what the Baruch Shem did is by making things seem that it's credited to the person now thinks that he is the cause of what happens. So he's got to break through what's called the illusion of causality. That's the problem. By making a person seem as if he's the cause of bread, produce, parnasa, he now thinks he's a cause. But the truth is he's not a cause, and now has to break through that illusion that he's not even a cause. Whereas before, he could never think he was a cause, because everything was done for him before. It's a moedik vod, you should know.
Yes,
it's a profound understanding of what bezes hapecha toicha lechem. Of course it was an oynish, because you're now giving me a harder test, and the test is to break through the illusion. And now it's much more difficult to do. So in a certain sense, that's the punishment, in that sense. But not really. What he did is he changed the entire environment of how man is tested, make it much worse, you see. And that was Mida Keneged Mida. Because you believed there was an independent force. And what was that? The tree. Remember the tree? He said that the tree, God ate from the tree and got his own powers. So it's Mida Keneged Mida. You want to believe that there is an independent force? Guess what? You will join the independent. Just like that was an illusion, you will have to suffer from the same belief that you just had. What a Mida Keneged Mida. But it made it much worse for him, you know, and so on. It's a profound understanding of what what happened to Adam Rishon as a result of his chet, which ultimately was Mida Keneged Mida. The Ramchal says this, it's a tremendous, profound understanding of what is going on. You know, it looks like, you know, God said to him, you gotta schwitz. You know, till now you had it easy, you know, what do you call it, you were on, you were on Easy Street. You know, all of a sudden, they sent you a check every week for $1 million. And you don't have to do anything, right? You know, and now all of a sudden God says, hey, you gotta schwitz for a living. You know, it's terrible. You know, but that's not what happened. Working and looking at your cause is now the environment you're in that is much more difficult to break through.
If Adam Rishon attributed some power to the tree, to get knowledge, but Avram Avinu was credited with realizing all this had to be from Hashem. So who was greater? Avram Avinu we think of him, his greatness of, obviously someone had to make this. It's not, you know, in and of itself a power. So he would be passed that test better, you think?
You know, there's a medrash that says, because it says, V'Yosef hurad mitzrayma, and Yosef was brought down to Egypt. That's what it says after Yosef was kidnapped. It says, V'Yosef hurad mitzrayma, and was brought down to Egypt. And hurad means against his will. So there's a Medrash Tanchuma on that says that very interesting. It says that really the Moshe, it's not called a deception, it's a subterfuge. If the Moshe had made Avram Avinu Adam Rishon, we wouldn't be here. He would have passed. So the Moshe purposely made not Avram Avinu as Adam, but Adam as Adam, knowing that he would fail. You see, because the Moshe wants obviously the tikkun of the Bria not to be over in 4 hours, but in 6,000 years. And the Medrash says that. He made an alila, a subterfuge, and the same thing. Yosef was brought to Egypt against his will, because that was what he had to do, and so on. And so therefore, Adam Rishon was Adam and not Avram, in order for him, not that God wanted him to fail, don't get me wrong, but he put the wrong neshama in the wrong place, so to speak, and therefore, because the Moshe really wants the tikkun of the Bria not to occur one man, except that every person has to be involved in bringing the tikkun of the Bria.
That's why he set it up like that in the first place.
What?
That's why did he set it up, that situation with one man in the first place?
Well, that one man was everybody.
So,
Because the Moshe, that's a different question in terms of the Moshe really only wanted a human being to go through the test. And all of us were part of the neshama of Avram Avinu. So the truth is, had he passed, we'd have been fine. All of us would have Olam Haba based on, because we're all a chelik of Olam Haba. You have to really understand what that means, but and so on, But obviously the Moshe didn't want that. He wanted a multiplicity of many people doing the tikkun, not just one man with everybody's neshama in it, and so on, Maybe B'Rovam, whatever. It's not clear. You have to really think about what that means and so on. But anyway.
So where does Hishtadlus come into play now?
Hishtadlus is really the decision. But remember, it's not I make a decision. Every microsecond or nanosecond, there's a decision made. It's almost like you make a decision, and I will allow you to move. But behind every decision, every movement, even an instant, is your decision. So that's your hishtadlus. There's a continuity, a continuation of decisions, and the Moshe allows you continuously to move, to allow you to actualize your decision.
How does that?
So it's really, even though the Moshe is doing it, but he's really allowing you. Although the impetus of that is your decision. Without your decision, there's no movement. So the Moshe is not going to force your movement. You see?
But how does that do with what Carl just said about what is? If it's making it harder for you to break through this illusion.
Yeah.
So how is Hishtadlus? Sounds like it's a head-on collision with that.
No, you still have the same hishtadlus, just a harder test. That's all. You have the same effort. I mean, you still have to do the effort. It's just a more difficult insight to achieve. It is much more that. The whole world is fooled by that. Guys walking on Wall Street. Give us these guys. They all think it's them. Of course, one day they're rich, the next day they're broke. Then they begin to realize that there's something else going on here.
Well, there is to be
There's an enormous amount of. It's almost like everybody's walking around with a delusion of adequacy.
There is to be said that when you're
what?
There is to be said that when you're in sales, especially religious Orthodox Jew in sales,
Yeah.
you know very quickly there's a Rabboni Shalom. Because you say, why did I get the sale? Why didn't I get the sale? It doesn't make sense. It's
Why did I get the
serious.
sale?
Sometimes you wonder, why did you get the sale? You shouldn't have gotten the sale, but you got it. And other times you say, well, I should have had the sale. It's right here, but I didn't get it. See, there's a Rabboni Shalom all the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
Someone once told me, like he can knock his head against the wall for a week, and all of a sudden someone that calls him up and gives him the money he could have made in a week, and he never even asked the guy, where did this come from? Because it just looks like it has to do without actions, but really it doesn't do it. Really has nothing to do except the Moshe. It's almost you need a cloaking device. Moshe is not. You can't just sit here, although maybe some people can, and the Moshe is going to feed him. No, the Hishtadlus is a cloaking device. You know, if everybody just sat down and everything would come to them, and there wouldn't be no Bechira left. It's obvious.
Was every morning to
What was that?
It is said that the Bashem of the Shtadlis for Panosa is to knock on the table every morning. That was the Shtadlis of Panosa. In other words,
I don't say, but the Shtad has to be in some way connected to the Panosa.
so he was so this it correlates to what you said. He was so up there that in his dragon,
No, that doesn't answer
his
the question.
Shtadlis, his knack, that was enough.
No, I know what that. No. It makes no sense. It has to have a connect. Shtadlis means effort, right? Right.
So that was
That's
his
his effort.
effort.
What was that? What effort? It's not an effort. An effort to do what?
He had kavana. His effort was kavana. His kavana when he knocked on the table. That's what his effort was.
You know,
Rest time for the understanding.
What?
Knocking on heaven's door.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I'm not going to work, but
no. There has to be something more than that. Why? Because a hishtadlis doesn't mean, if I go, is that a hishtadlis to make a panosa? Come on. Well, what does that have to do with this? There has to be a hishtadlis that is logically connected to what you want to do. It makes no sense.
Chofetz Chaim had a store.
What?
Chofetz Chaim had a store.
Yeah. Oh, you know what it is? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to call the phone company, right? I'm going to get a phone line that if anybody ever wants to call me for a business deal, I got a phone. That's hishtadlis. But it has to be connected. It has to be justified in some way. It has something to do with parnosa. Why did the Baal Shem Tov just move his foot and just go back to bed? What do you have to do this for?
maybe it was both.
No. You understand my problem with your...
So he's Zokman. They're not saying it on me.
You know what they say. If you don't believe the stories of the Baal Shem, you're not Bikuris. If you believe them all, you're a fool. Anyway, I don't mind the story, but it has to make logical sense why this particular action of him means something in the direction of Parnosa. But just to say, and if I go like that, is that hishtadlis?
Or maybe he's basing on that you have to work on this by the sweat of your brow. So that was his effort.
Sweat of his brow.
No, there is a connection. He knocks on the table.
Yeah.
A servant hears it and brings the breakfast. So it's a connection.
Okay, that's servants. Anyway, we understand now the problem of the physical universe. There's so many illusions going on, and the physical universe allows that, you see, and that's why there is a physical universe. So remember, just to summarize, the greatest of all illusions is the illusion of self. I exist independent of God. One, okay? In fact, when Moshe Rabbeinu said to the Rebbe Shalom, Hareini no es kvoidecho, the first thing he said, Hareini no es druchecho, show me your ways. Which is Moshe Rabbeinu, if the Moshe says to you, you can ask 2 things of me. Those are the 2 things exactly I want to ask. Why? Because everything that happens is druchecho. So by knowing the reason for druchecho, guess what? I know everything that happened. It's like the question that will resolve all questions. Okay, so I'm finished with that, right? Druchecho. I now know why you do anything. Wow, unbelievable, right? But the second thing is, okay, but the greatest question is, who are you? Who are you? What are you? So, tell me something about your nature. Something, But when you think about it, the real question that Moshe Rabbeinu said is, I don't understand something. I know it's Einoi Muvadoi. It's nobody but you. Yet I'm here asking you, what in the world, who are you? So there's a contradiction. How can I be asking you that question when you're the only thing that exists? There's no anybody to ask. How do you pull that off? How do I have a sense of self when I don't really exist? You see? So, how do we align the two? So Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to ask the 2 greatest questions of all. Why do you do what you do? Which explains everything that was ever done. And who are you? Right? The doer himself. And then the Rosh said, I'll tell you, but, and so on and so forth, whatever. But obviously he was given a sukkah greater than anything that ever was. You know what I'm saying?
I don't understand the concept of I don't exist. I mean, I as self, I know from power from Hashem, everything's from Hashem, but
Did anybody ever...
but I'm here. I pray to Hashem. Hashem answers my prayers, does answer my prayers. I mean, I exist in a totality of being.
Did anybody ever call you a nobody?
Yeah.
Well, that's it. You're nobody.
I'm somebody. Hashem gave me that.
I once answered that question.
Because I'm a yid.
No, you're getting
forget about that
the
then.
Mustadash couple, I once explained that, what that means. I once explained that it's a martial I use all the time. Imagine somebody sleeping on a sofa, and he has a dream. And in that dream, there are two guys talking to each other. It's a dream. And they're drinking coffee, having a, nice roast. And one guy says to the other guy, we don't exist. So the other guy says to him, what are you talking about, we don't exist? You're talking to me and I'm talking to you. So the guy says, no, you understand something. No, we exist relative to ourselves. But you see that guy sleeping on the sofa? I mean, and the dream is in his mind. He is, we ain't. Not only he is and we ain't, even while he's sleeping. If he ever woke up, we instantly vanish. We, in many ways, we are a figment of God's imagination. Yet in the figment itself, we have existence. But it's not him. He really is. We are not at all. Yet the dream is, where one person can have, it's a mashal. It's a way to explain what it means. But I once said, you can't get on the highway and sit down and say, what is the problem? Because since none of the cars really exist, I don't have to worry. Can't do that. Why not? Because the rule is that a non-existent train can kill a non-existent person.
Two negatives equal positive.
What?
Two negatives equal positive.
A non-existent train can actually kill a non-existent person. Relative
Hashem
to each
didn't
other.
create me as a figment of his imagination.
You are. You understand? He didn't create you. You are a figment of his imagination.
I'm not quite sure I understand that.
Nobody really. It's just a marshal to show you that we do not. He really exists. We don't. But we do exist, obviously, in his mind or whatever that. He has no mind. Moshe has no mind, but. There is some type of, it's like a shadow. A guy's walking, and there's a shadow on the floor, right? Who is that shadow? Does that shadow really exist? As a shadow. But don't compare the shadow to the guy. The guy is real. His shadow, right, is an emanation or some type of a manifestation as a shadow, but the shadow is not the person. You see, that's what we are. So if you want to look at it in that way,
I'm not sure.
That's fine. I can't, Anyway, this is the concept of the physical universe, and the neshama has a very difficult time with this particular bria.
Is the neshama also an imagination?
What?
Is the neshama also an imagination, according to you?
Everything is. That it says Einod Mavadoy. It doesn't say Einod Kamoihu. There's nobody like him. But it says. It says Milvadoy. Besides him, there's nothing else, and that includes everything outside of himself. Nothing exists. Period. Like he does. Everything is a shadow relative to itself. That's all. He's the only one that is. Period.
Isn't the neshama a piece of the fabric of Hashem?
Yes, but
So
not no.
Hashem.
No. The neshama is a cheluk mekamimal. The shechina. The shechina is not God. The Rosham in who he is not the shechina, but the shechina is a manifestation of him in a created universe. So what the Rosham did is created some type of representation of him in a creation, but it's not him. He's beyond the bria. Very important distinction. You know, so we relate to the Shekhinah. Now, the Shekhinah, however, which is a manifestation of who He is in this creation, we are a chelik of the Shekhinah, but not Him. You know, the real, we call that Atzmusoi, is beyond anything. We have no concept of what He is, and so on, you know. Now, this Thursday night is Ramchal's Yotzai, and what I'm going to do, because I don't know much room I have here, I'm going to make it in my house Thursday night. I'm calling it for 8:30. There will be food. Avi is sponsoring it. The Ilui Nishmas,
My grandfather.
his grandfather. And it's going to be in my house. I live at 11 Tamarind Road, which is in Tamarind Park.
Thursday
That's a
night?
small
My mother's
development,
sponsoring part of it too.
and it's right off Joe Parker Road. You know what Joe
What
Parker Road?
time?
No.
I'm
no
Joe
clue.
Parker Road.
Where is it?
I will,
Right around the corner.
right around.
It's right
around.
over
Joe
here?
Parker Road.
Yeah, 5 minutes from here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not
So take
far.
Ridge Road, make a left turn?